In animation, the Microsoft logo bursts into clear, concentric windows. Colorful, rounded fabric squares converge, spiraling upward. Microsoft. Ability Summit. Inclusive development. Empower every developer and their teams to achieve more. Dante Gagne, Microsoft.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dante Gagne, and I'm a Senior Product Manager here at Microsoft. Thanks so much for joining our breakout session today. Now, we're here today to talk about inclusive development and how you can empower developers and their teams to achieve more. We've got a bunch of new tools and features that I'm excited to showcase, but before we get started, I'd like to share a bit about my own journey and why building inclusive products is so important to me. Now, when I first started working in accessibility, I got a chance to talk with some blind developers about their experiences, and one developer confided that Accessibility Visual Studio was the difference between being able to have a job and provide for his family. It really drove home for me just how accessibility changes lives, and that's why I'm so inspired by the work we've been doing to make our products work better for more people, especially when it comes to protecting developer focus. So with that, let's jump right in. Our first guest today is Roberto Perez. Now, Roberto's a software engineer here at Microsoft. He's based in his home office in Florida, and he's blind. Now, oftentimes, the contextual information built into developer tools and workflows is visual. And things like error messages, warnings, breakpoints, and folded areas can be processed by sighted people, but it doesn't provide adequate in-the-moment context for those who aren't. And with feedback from Roberto and some of our 200,000 visually impaired customers, we've developed an audio language to adapt those visual cues for multiple senses. Today, Roberto's going to walk you through some of those audio cues that keep him on track and focused while he works. Why don't you take it from here, Roberto?
Roberto Perez.
Thank you, Dante. Hello, everyone. I am Roberto Perez, and I have been working in accessibility at Microsoft for a little over a year now. When I'm coding or just using the computer, I use a keyboard with a braille display so I can read what's on the screen and hear speech coming from the screen reader at the same time. There is content which I find easier to understand by listening to it, while numbers, for example, are easier to understand by reading. Audio cues create an additional layer of information I need to listen to. However, intentional audio cues in context are easier and faster to process than screen reader speech once I know what the sounds means. It can be a productivity booster when used properly. Let me show you what we've been working on Visual Studio to start taking advantage of these multisensory experiences.
On a screen.
I'm focusing on Visual Studio. Now I have a code which I want to review. So I will start from the top of the file and read line by line using the keyboard.
Let's take us write some text in the console dot.
As I read, I have the braille, I have the line showing in braille as well. So I can listen to the code and read it if I need to at the same time.
Console.write line left parent. Quote, what is your name? Question. Quote, right parent. Bar unused for one equals quote semi.
There is a warning here. And observe how swiftly I listen to the speech from the screen reader and I hear the warning sound at the same time. So I know immediately that there is a warning in this line.
Var unused for 2 equals quote semi.
Same thing here. I will look at these warnings later.
Var name equals console.read line left var current date equals date type blank. / let take a console.write line left parent dollar quote left brace environment dot new console.write left parent dot / count 3 and for left parent and I equals 1 semi I less equals 3 semi I plus right parent right parenthesis collapsed region.
And there is a collapsed region here. Observe how the screen reader read the line for the loop and it also said collapsed region. In addition, I have the words collapsed region here at the end of the line in my braille display. So I will
for left parent and I equals
press Ctrl M followed by M to expand this loop.
Region expanded, ready.
The screen reader reads region expanded, and I can now explore the content.
Left brace. Force space console.write line left parent dollar quote left brace environment dot new line right brace counting left brace I right brace dot quote right parent.
Here we have a breakpoint added here. That's good to know.
No indent right brace. Blank. Console.right little left parent. Quote goodbye. Quote right parent. Semi.
Looks like we have an error here, and observe how interesting. There is a red visual indicator that tells those who can see the screen that there is an error. And at the same time, there is the audio cue playing to tell me, who I cannot see the screen, that there is an error. I can quickly then read the line in my braille display and immediately find out where the error is. There is an L in the word line, which shouldn't be there. So I will route the cursor using a sensor in my braille display. Is this button right on top of the strip of letters. I route the cursor to this point in the line and fix the error by pressing backspace.
L.
So my error is fixed. How do I make sure that the error is fixed? I can simply, in just a split second, move back and forth.
Blank. Console.right line left parent. Quote goodbye. Quote right parent. Semi.
Reread the line and hear that there is no audio cue to indicate that there is an error. So my error is fixed. So to summarize, we're combining audio signals with existing speech and braille feedback to help customers obtain information about their code as they navigate with the keyboard and the screen reader more efficiently. This is the beginning of more multisensory experiences. By the way, I would like to add that the sounds used in the different audio cues can be customized in the Windows sound settings. Thanks for letting me share with you today. Back over to you, Dante.
Thanks, Roberto. You know, the audio cues are something that Visual Studios had for quite a while, but our telemetry made us think the usage was pretty low. But when we started talking to our developers, particularly those with visual disabilities, we realized that we had a community that really loved them and wanted us to create more. They inspired us to find new and better ways to do more with the audio cues, and seeing the way Roberto uses them has really fueled that innovation. That innovation is increasing productivity, and not just for the folks with visual disabilities, but in places we didn't expect. We found that folks in the neurodiverse community, folks with ADHD, are finding it as a new avenue to help them anchor to the code and reduce cognitive load. It's an important reminder that as product creators, we need to stay attuned to our customers' personalized needs. And there are multiple sensory channels that we can and should address simultaneously to keep more developers informed and in flow. Now, you can find the audio cues Roberto demoed in the accessibility settings in both Visual Studio and VS Code. All you need to do is enable them and open up a new editor window to hear them with or without a screen reader. Now, you'll see Roberto one more time before the end of the breakout, but now I want to introduce you to Ram Kumar. Ram is blind, and he's the manager of digital and transaction banking at one of the largest banks in India. And he's here to talk about Power Platform. Power Platform offers a suite of business applications for enterprise, including Power Apps, a low-code, no-code platform that Ram and his team have been using to innovate. After Ram, you'll meet Anna White, who's a software engineer at Microsoft, and she'll tell you about the importance of saved gestures and assistive tech. Roberto will be back to join her at the end to show her how they're leveraging AI innovations in Visual Studio. Ram, over to you.
B. Ram Kumar.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and honor to be here amongst you. I'm B. Ram Kumar. I'm here to share my experience as a visually impaired, a professional working in SBI. Before we start further, I would just like to give a brief intro about my disability. Basically, I lost my vision at the age of 10 due to a freak accident in school. But I had a lot of passion for technology, and I believe that the technology has the potential to change my world. Seeing my passion, my parents
A photo.
struggled a lot and bought me a used computer since we belong to a middle-class family. Guess what? As I trusted, the technology gave the answers to my queries. The accessible technology like screen readers and keyboard shortcuts and inbuilt accessibility features of Windows enabled me to empower to use the computers, which opened up a new world for me. In fact, it helped a lot in my studies, and I was able to complete my graduation in commerce stream and complete my intermediate in chartered accountancy. This computer knowledge also helped me in securing a job in the State Bank of India in the year 2009. And at present, I work as a manager in State Bank of India as in the department called Digital and Transaction Banking. State Bank of India is basically India's largest bank, having a mission of transforming the financial industry through technical innovations. And my role here is to market the digital and transaction banking products to my customers and support my branches and customers for troubleshooting various issues pertaining to the digital products. During my tenure, I was assigned an Herculean task of preparing daily reports involving 1,250 branches spread across the state of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. There were a lot of data redundancy and data loss, which led to loss of business as well. I found it extremely challenging that collating data involving 1,250 branches and representing them. And I trusted that once again, technology will come to my rescue. And here the challenge was unique because the solution has to be accessible, because only then I will be able to participate in that. And number two, the user interface and user experience should be very simple and minimalistic so that the end user also feels comfortable in using the solution. And point number three, it should be a low code, no code option, as I don't have any technical background or coding and programming. And during this search, I happened to meet Mr. Praveen, who works for the housing loan sales team in our bank, who has experience with the Power Platform. And I believed technology has answered my prayers. Here, Mr. Praveen taught me and trained me in this Power Platform with the help of screen readers, and I was able to use it comfortably. And my another colleague, Mr. Bharat Ram, also joined us voluntarily, and he offered to do a role of user acceptance tester. Myself, Praveen, and Bharat joined together as a team and started our journey into the world of Power Apps. We built an app and named it as Digi Toolkit. We submitted this prototype to our departmental head, Mr. Shailendra Kumar Dikshit, Deputy General Manager. He was quite amazed with this idea, and he took it further and submitted to the bank's head of state of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, Chief General Manager, Mr. Radhakrishna. Our CGM was overwhelmed with this new technology and took it as a pet project, and the rest is history. This tool actually enables us in planning, strategizing, coordinating, monitoring, and marketing various bank products. This app has 5 different modules in it. Let's see a summary of it. Number 1, the activity tracker. Number 2, the campaign tracker. Number 3, the admin interface. Number 4, the lead tracker. And number 5, the reports. All in all, this is a one-stop solution wherein we get to record an activity, conduct a campaign with that, and the campaign data will be passed on for the leads to be processed and converted into a business, and reports of the activity can be seen by our top executives. The results after deploying Power Apps was significant. The task, which I thought was Herculean and Himalayan, was made a child's play. In fact, this Power Platform simplified the process of data collation, storage, retrieval, and representation like a cakewalk. Not only that, this digital transformation ensured that it is inclusive. The Power Apps has various accessibility features inbuilt, like keyboard navigation, focus indicator, screen reader support, then accessible forms. This enabled me to interact with the platform and people like me using it to input the data into the Power Apps system. In short, Power App is a game changer. As I said, I firmly believe that technology has a power to empower people with different abilities. In fact, the developers should keep in mind accessibility is just not a legal obligation. It is basically a ethical obligation that every developer should keep in mind while developing their apps. My personal experience is that whenever an app is built with differently able in mind, it leads to a lot of innovations and inventions. When these sort of innovations and inventions are made, it always benefits the society at large. In short, tech for all. It is the call. No one should be left in crawl. Accessibility is the key that can open the door and set us free. Future looks bright with the technology's light. Apps like Seeing AI can become our eye, empowering the persons with disability, making the world full of possibilities. Inclusivity is the way for us for making a better day. Let's work together and join our hands and create a world that is truly grand. And Power Apps is one such classic example when tech made accessible the difference it could make in life of persons with different ability and also for the organization and economy at large. I take this opportunity to thank State Bank of India and Microsoft for making me a part of Ability Summit. Thank you so much.
Anna White.
Thanks, Ram. That was super insightful. Hi, I'm Anna White. I work as a software engineer right here at Microsoft. Though I'm 4 years into my professional career, I've been coding games and websites since I was 12 years old. Computers are my passion. They're how I make art, stay in touch with my family, and create really impactful products while earning my living. But using a computer with my hands is painful. I was born without a right hand due to a congenital birth defect called amniotic band syndrome. But I never really thought about how computers weren't built for my body until I had to. Almost 10 years exactly after I wrote my first line of code, I was diagnosed with severe repetitive stress injury, early onset arthritis, and carpal tunnel in my left hand. Using a computer with my hand is painful, just not the hand you'd probably guess. See, 1 in 4 computer users will develop a chronic overuse injury. Having one hand just means I ran into it twice as fast. Suddenly, every click sent pins and needles shooting up my arm. From the minute I woke up to the moment I fell asleep, if I could fall asleep, the pain would not stop. I tried switching to using my shoulders and my nub more to type, and my wrist got a little bit better. But 6 months later, I developed chronic tendonitis in both of my shoulders. By that point, my arms were so bad I couldn't wash my own hair or hold a cup. And every doctor I saw agreed that the root of the problem was the thing I loved the most, my computer. Career computer use requires a lot of repetitive gestures, I learned. More than any one part of the human body is designed to do long term. A paraplegic who uses voice control will develop vocal strain. We've all probably met someone in our field whose hands or lower back hurts at the end of the workday. Or we are them. Or we will be in 60 years. When every click hurts, every click you can save means all the more. And I tried all the hardware on the market, and some of it helped a little, but no matter what mouse you use, you still have to click it. If even two-handed programmers develop chronic overuse injuries, what options are there for me? But programming is my dream job, my career, and I want it to be possible long-term and today. So I had to find a way to make what so many of us spend 40 hours a week putting our bodies through easier. I needed a way to reduce those painful gestures. I'm going to talk about 2 tools that I honestly use literally every day that help me do just that. The first, you might already be a little familiar with, and that's IntelliCode for Visual Studio. Listen, my arms forced me to try a lot of IDEs. And I can say honestly that Visual Studio is the best tool I have tried in getting code from my brain to the screen with as little typing and clicking and dictating as possible. If you can't use a keyboard without extreme pain, imagine how nice it is when I'm coding and Visual Studio pops down its little suggestion list of what method to call on this object. But IntelliCode in 2023 is going even further than that. As I go through this demo, I want you to get a little bit weird. I want you to put your arms at your side and really think about how long it would take you to do this if you couldn't use them tomorrow. With that in mind, let's dive into a day of using my computer.
On a screen,
Test cases. Hard to design, but not hard to type out, usually. How often does this happen? I add 2 new parameters to the validate method, and now every test that references it is broken. In big repos, this can be thousands of lines of code. Great. When my arms are bad, I have to fix these mistakes with voice command. Go to end of line. Press left key. Press left key. Insert comma. Multiply that by 10 and you get the idea. So how does IntelliCode make this easier for me? Firstly, it's smart enough to read my code context and suggest up to an entire line, even pulling in the error code variable I set above. IntelliCode is trained on thousands of public repos, so it's often able to suggest something that's actually useful to me. For the parameter that didn't auto-populate, when I comma, IntelliCode auto-suggests the error message string first. This ordering is super important to me because when it's right, all I have to do is press tab. IntelliCode has been doing a lot of work training its model to get that first suggestion right as often as possible. We see IntelliCode order the parameters usefully again as I add the new ones to the call to validate. But now I have to repeat this 10 more times. Ugh. But look at what happens now. I do that edit a second time, and on the 3rd time, IntelliCode is going to do something amazing. It automatically suggests that same edit on the next line. Then, if I press the Preview All shortcut, are you seeing this? It applies the edit to every spot in my file that matches that pattern, and lets me take all of those edits by just pressing tab. For me, this is huge. It took fewer gestures to edit 10 lines than it would take to just get the cursor onto the next line without IntelliCode. And while this is great for me because typing is physically difficult, if you have a focus-based disability like ADHD, a tool like this could help you stay on track. Another spot us developers get bogged down in is copy and pasting code from other sources. Here, I want to add in some MCell exception test code I copy over from a doc. I grab the code, paste it in, and prep for a lot of press right key, press down key, paste, while I try to rename all the parameters. Is what I used to do. Watch this. I paste the code in, and IntelliCode triggers adaptive copy and paste. Are you seeing this? Press tab, and boom, done. Whether copying from a different spot in my own code or pulling from an external source, this is such a time saver. No more fiddling with find and replace. It's mind-blowing. But it's also not mind-blowing because, of course, my IDE should do this for me. I can't believe it wasn't able to do this before. And these are just a few of the awesome AI features coming to Visual Studio in 2023. It's hard for me to articulate just how impactful this is. I know a lot of people look at these things and they think it's just saving you busy work, but not hard work. For me, it is hard work. I see these features and I see all the time saved, all the gestures reduced. I see a task my colleagues can do in minutes that used to take me 30 minutes. And now I can do it just as fast as them. I see myself being able to keep up and prioritize my time on the work that matters. If I had something like this 10 years ago when I started coding, I probably could have avoided a lot of my repetitive strain injuries. When I think of all the developers using Visual Studio and how many billions of gestures are being saved by this, it makes me so happy because I know what it's like to be in pain every day. And I want every techie to have as long a career as they want with as healthy a body as possible, no matter what that body might look like. Artificial intelligence like IntelliCode for Visual Studio, is an essential item in our toolkit to help us extend the lives of our hands, wrists, shoulders, or however you use the computer. Every one of us only has so many keys our bodies can type before it can't. So why waste it on the busy work? But as you all probably know, coding is a small fraction of what we use a computer for day to day. That's why Microsoft's upcoming work in workflow automation across the whole computer experience is so exciting to me. I promise, it's not just buzzwords. I use a similar tool to what I'll be showing that I had to code myself when my arms stopped working every single day. It took enough load off of my arms that I didn't have to go on disability leave even when I couldn't use a keyboard. And that is AI-powered macros for everyone. These are simple, low or no-code shortcuts that anyone can set up to automate those tasks that are difficult or just repetitive. Think of it like a super customizable personal assistant that you can trigger with your keyboard, your braille display, your voice, your mouse. You get the picture. You tell it how you want to trigger it and what you want it to do. When I say open GitHub, it switches to Microsoft Edge and loads github.com. What's great about this is that a person with a disability can add their own macros unique to what they need to do and how they're able to do it, which is super useful if the how you use your computer is a little non-standard. What you're going to see here is an early beta. I'll show you how I use it as a person with a mobility disability. Then you'll see how Roberto uses the same toolkit of features as a blind person. Now, we programmed this assistant with some default commands that a lot of people might find useful, like taking a screenshot with your voice. But me and Roberto both added in some specific commands for our workflow, and that is where the magic really starts to come through. So let's dive back into my computer, and I'll show you how I use these AI-powered macros to take the strain off my arms across my workflows.
Let's hop back into another code base. Here, I have a syntax error, but I can't remember the keyboard shortcut to pull up the error window. Luckily, I've mapped a macro to it. Show error window? Who on my team wrote this? Git blame maps to another keyboard shortcut, and this one tells me that my coworker Rob should have more context. The next macro is one of my favorites. Message Rob, why isn't this compiling? The handler switches to Teams and pulls up Rob and adds my conversation in as text. Because this AI macro will run across your whole system, it isn't tied to just one application, so you could build one of these to work with Discord or Slack too. Voice isn't the only way to trigger an action. No company builds a keyboard that works ergonomically for my hands. I only have a left hand, and Enter key is on the right. So I set caps lock to trigger Enter, and ta-da! Sending messages is so much easier. But say my left hand's on the mouse, and I want to paste this code in. My nub can't press two keys like Control-V at the same time. Here comes one of our cooler triggers, long press. I hold the right control key, and after a delay, it pastes with one key. I also use long press as a trigger on all of my letters and number row to send the capitalized or shifted version of a symbol, which rocks since coding is so symbol heavy, so it really gives my left hand a much needed break. But I just remembered, Rob mostly speaks German. He'll have to translate my message on his side. Or he used to. Translate this to German, sends my selection to AI, and boom, ready to go, saving Rob and me time. Your macro can send data to a number of AI services. Roberta will tell you more about that later, but one I'll call out now is, well, say Rob sends me a code example as this screenshot, and I don't want to have to retype it. So I use a keyboard macro, Control-Alt-S, or I say, take a screenshot with OCR, which uses AI to convert this image into text. Now I can paste it in with trusty long control, and we are ready to go.
Look, I am a software developer with limited arm mobility. A paraplegic graphic designer or a blind digital music artist controls the computer very differently to do a very different set of things. We can't build one tool that makes all those workflows effortless, but we can give them a toolkit that they can tweak to make it work for them. And that's how you create a tool that can scale across the many, many different shapes and types and kinds of people that use their computers. While making your own AI personal assistant might seem like overkill to a lot of people, I feel its benefits every day. I needed something like this to keep my passions alive. And I believe that a lot of other people with disabilities who can't find products built for them and what they need to do feel the same. And it isn't just me. Roberto is also leveraging these AI macros to make screen sharing easier for him. Roberto?
Thank you, Anna. As part of my job, I am often in meetings where I have to share my screen. For me, that usually involves having to close all the windows except the one I want to share, switch to the meeting window, pressing Control-Shift-E to initiate the sharing process, pressing Shift+Tab a couple of times to turn on the option to include system audio. It is a very involved process, in summary. That, when things go well, can take me a minute or more, disrupting the flow of the meeting. With macros, a new piece of technology coming soon to Microsoft Power Toys, I can complete that action by simply saying, share my screen, or by pressing a keystroke. I have macros defined to share the entire screen or the specific window, as well as to share just screen or share screen with audio. Let me show you how it works.
A Windows 11 desktop.
Share my screen.
Working on it.
Meeting with Roberto Perez Microsoft Teams. Meeting with Roberto Perez Microsoft Teams.
Screen share.
Screen sharing tool for document. Presenting.
Stop sharing.
Meeting with Roberto Perez. Meeting with
Sharing
Roberto Perez
stopped.
Microsoft Teams. Document selected. Share content. CTRL plus Shift plus E.
I like to tell you about another macro we have defined. Screen readers are good at giving the user ways to read elements on the screen, but there is currently no screen readers software that can give you a concise visual description of part of a particular window or a high-level overview of the options available. As a blind screen reader user, when I encounter a new UI, I must navigate through all the controls and build a mental map of the screen. That is something we are trying to improve with the combined help of macros, Azure Cognitive Services, and the newly released Azure OpenAI. We have defined a macro that can be activated with a single phrase or a keystroke, which sends the content of the active window to Azure to extract the text, then passes the result to Azure OpenAI for analysis. This is very experimental at the moment, but we are so excited about the result and the potential of this development that we wanted to show it to you now. I will open a simple window such as the Run dialog.
Run dialog. Type the name of a program, folder, document, or internet resource, and Windows with OK but open.
And run the macro. Tell me what's on the screen.
Thinking. The screen has a text box labeled Open, with the text notepad entered into it. Below the text box are the buttons OK, Cancel, and Browse.
Amazing, isn't it? Back over to you, Dante.
Big thanks to Ram, Anna, and Roberta. It's really something to see what Ram has been able to do for the Bank of India with accessible products and how Anna and Roberta are using artificial intelligence to make their work easier and more efficient. It underscores the real-world impact our products can have when we design them for everyone. And behind every single one of these tools, there's a team of people working to bring them to life. Product managers and researchers help to make sure we're solving real problems for real people. Engineers build products from the ground up and ensure they seamlessly function. And designers create the user interfaces we interact and engage with. For all these people to produce products that are representative, inclusive, and born accessible, their teams need to also be representative, inclusive, and diverse. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Steph Battershell, who's a designer here at Microsoft, who's an expert in inclusive best practices. Steph is going to tell you about the importance of fostering an inclusive design mindset and how it's critical for creating experiences that resonate with all kinds of customers. Over to you, Steph.
Steph Battershell.
Thanks, Dante. As lead product designer for the Azure mobile app, helping to design and develop features for it has really broadened my perspective on what it means to be inclusive and accessible in the industry. Our team has been in a unique position because of our focused use cases, like monitoring Azure resources, responding to urgent alerts, and performing quick actions while on the go. And because mobile apps are catered to highly focused scenarios, it's been able to put us at the forefront of how we think about inclusive design for every feature that we implement. Achieving and maintaining an accessible product is no easy feat, though. Accessibility is more than just compliance. It's more than checking color contrast ratios or ensuring screen readers generate the correct outputs. It extends into cognitive requirements as well. When we say that something is accessible, we must include those customers with neurodivergent needs, like ADHD, OCD, or autism. Considering both nurtures an experience that gives delight to our customers and leaves them with the ability to achieve their daily tasks with the help of an efficient and intuitive user experience. So I'm sharing with you today my team's perspective in hopes that you may apply it to your own. It starts by fostering an inclusive design mindset within each discipline on our team, whether it's design, product management, research, or development. We acknowledge that our individual experiences and backgrounds help to contribute to the work we brainstorm and collaborate on. We strive to always think outside the box to solve a problem. So by considering how, say, a user who is blind may interact with our product and envisioning the frustrations they may face, has driven us to be proactive instead of reactive in our accessible solutions. Embracing this mindset has driven more awareness and empathy in our team's working practices. So now I'll share with you a quote. I may have invisible disabilities of my own that have gone undiagnosed from early on. So I feel that all those together have led me to develop a very special place in my heart for those who are the underdogs in situations, so to speak. I get very easily overwhelmed by things that can be overstimulating. So if the UI or UX is too busy, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. I will often be the first to point out if a design feels like too much is going on. I feel it's important that everyone has a fair and equal experience and nothing gets left out for anyone. Software engineer, Azure mobile app. So that personal story from one of my team members is a moving example of why it's important to try and remove our assumptions from the start. Not all disabilities are visible. Those who are neurotypical may assume their product meets every customer need. But strategies like co-designing a feature for neurodivergent users and witnessing in real time how they perceive and interact with it can start to really dissolve these assumptions. So whether neurodiverse, low vision, or hearing impaired, by fostering this mindset within our team, we've been creating an experience that has resonated with all of our customers. So how do we prioritize this and deliver the best experience possible? One example is testing features with neurodiverse customers early and often. Sometimes customers with ADHD or OCD are often overlooked in research studies, simply because they don't self-declare or this attribute isn't listed in recruitment forms. By ensuring we include neurodiverse customers every time, our findings from their perspectives will provide a wider and more valuable level of insight that improves the end user experience for everyone. But it doesn't end there. We must also acknowledge the capabilities and limitations of the devices our product is surfaced on. With mobile devices, screen size can impact a person's ability to hit a touch target, especially if they have a physical limitation causing friction. We must step back and say to ourselves, what in our user interface may cause friction? And what different ways can we solve better for it? So reflecting on these insights from interviews and usability studies and addressing accessibility issues beforehand has really been key to developing the Azure mobile app. Since these mobile frameworks, though, are developed with high priority tasks and limited focus in mind, They can influence the way we think about developing features differently. These learnings don't have to stay isolated, though. We can expand and share them more broadly across other products and teams. Having worked closely with neurodiverse customers, there's some valuable takeaways that I want to share with you. First, find ways to relieve cognitive load. If you haven't heard of this term, it's the concept that something which is overly complicated can cause feelings of increased stress, fatigue, and frustration. This in turn will cause users to invent their own workarounds or abandon a task completely. Giving users things like quick start templates, breaking things up into smaller steps, or allowing saved drafts of their work are just a few ways to help reduce this cognitive load. Secondly, examine your user experience and ask yourself how much is truly necessary for someone to achieve a task. For example, tasks on mobile must follow this idea because of their limited screen space and isolated flows. Users on mobile want to be able to finish a task quickly within a few taps. Complexity can instill feelings of being overstimulated and overwhelmed by the task, no matter what device they're using. Also, be sure to reduce the steps taken and the time needed to do something. There's nothing more time-consuming than filling out a lengthy form on a phone to sign up for something. Think about whether your experience can be accomplished in just one screen. Try to surface only the most important information the user may need in that moment. All types of customers benefit when they can accomplish their work in a timely and worry-free manner. And lastly, view the experience from another perspective. This not only means from another person's, but from another platform as well. If your product only exists on a web browser, explore how it would look and function on a phone, tablet, or even a smartwatch. Working within these restrictions can reveal areas causing pain points that were previously unknown. So the ideas I presented here today have allowed my team to really focus on the human-centered nature of things. It allows us to think more deeply, to translate diverse needs into actionable items, and to challenge our assumptions. When talking about accessibility, we must broaden its definition to include cognitive requirements as well. So I encourage you, look at ways that you can strengthen your inclusive design mindset. Because when we take the time and the dedication to design for the needs of one, we'll solve for many. Thank you. Back to you, Dante.
Thank you so much, Steph. It's so powerful for me to see the evolution in Microsoft's methodology and the inclusion of the neurodiverse community and how that's already helping to create amazing inclusive products. And that can only be made possible by inclusive teams like Steph's. We're close to the end of our time, and I'd like to thank you again for going on this journey with us. I'm always so inspired by the inclusive work, whether it's the audio cues and AI that Roberto and Anna are using to protect their focus and flow, or the way Ram is problem solving with the low-code, no-code Power Platform, or Steph's methodology for fostering inclusive design mindsets. I hope you leave today's session feeling the same way and take something back to your own teams too. Our mission has always been to empower developers to achieve more, and the work our amazing presenters have shared with you today is just the beginning. So stay tuned. Thanks again, everyone, and take care.
Dante smiles. Microsoft. Thank you for participating. There's more to experience. Explore other content experiences in the top navigation bar. In animation, an L-shaped curve of rounded fabric squares undulates softly.